This price is going to get updated tomorrow. He said that the out the door price is going to end up being $45,000, which is almost $35,000 off of a nearly $80,000 MSRP.
Car market collapse 2026. It's finally happening. Pops, we've got dealers selling cars for 50% off of MSRP. Dad, what the heck is going on? There are well over 100,000 new cars from 2025 that are still unsold sitting on dealers' lots. We have an affordability crisis like crazy, a debt crisis going on right now, and auto sales, they've been stagnant now for decades. Tell us what's going on with this car market crash and this big reset in the auto industry.
Well, I think automakers are finally beginning to understand that they have just priced too many shoppers out of the market. And people find themselves unable to afford the cost of vehicles today. The percentage of vehicles that can be purchased, new vehicles that can be purchased under $20,000 is 0.2%. 0.2%. Do you understand how ridiculous that is? And to find vehicles, say, in the $25,000 price range, less than 4%. These are some crazy numbers. And because of this, dealerships, in some cases, in many cases, their inventory's just stacking up. And, well, there's that old theory, stack them deep and sell them cheap, apparently.
The prices have just gotten out of hand. I mean, again, that dealer that sold that car for 48% off of MSRP, it was a leftover new vehicle, and it was also just too expensive. The manufacturer ultimately went to the dealer and said, we're giving you final pay, which means we are no longer going to provide you or the customer with incentives to sell this car. And we're seeing that happen over and over again. We also saw that happen over at Lincoln with our dealer that we know there, who ultimately ended up selling that car. I think it was an $8,000 or $9,000 loss because he just had to get rid of that leftover inventory. But it all ties back to vehicles becoming too expensive and so many shoppers taking themselves out of the market. Edmunds came out with this chart recently. It's price distribution from 2019 to 2025 for new cars. And this chart shares a damning story. Like you said, no longer any sub $20,000 options. And the number of options at the $25,000 to $30,000 price point has gone from 19% just a few years ago to 4%. We just have no options at these cheaper price points anymore.
No, and that's the real issue. Because of that, and because of the chip shortage earlier in this decade, where there were 10 to 15 million new vehicles globally that were supposed to be produced that weren't, that meant that there were 10 to 15 million new vehicles that never got sold. So there were never trade-ins on those vehicles. And so because of that, we're seeing a short supply of quality used cars. And the cost of those used cars has skyrocketed along with the price of the new cars. So there seems to be nothing comforting for people out there. For folks who can't afford the new cars, they're finding, in many cases, the used cars unaffordable as well.
Yeah, all the data we look at shows that the fastest selling used cars are those that are sub $15,000, and your options there aren't great either. And so you have people taking themselves out of the new car market, and then unfortunately having to take themselves out of the used car market as well. One more thing on the new car market, 36% of all new vehicles sold for more than $50,000 in 2025. That was just 15% pre-pandemic in 2019. 20% of new vehicles sell for above $60,000, up from 7% 6 years ago. And $70,000 or more priced vehicles have tripled their market share from 3.6% to 12% right now. So we have a ton of people purchasing these really expensive vehicles, and then, Dad, a lot of people being pushed out of the market entirely. And ultimately, to your point, looking toward the used car market, but then the used car prices have gone bonkers again, just like they did a couple of years ago. It's pushing them even out of the used car market, which leads us to the ultimate challenge here for the auto industry and really the fundamental reset. People have just stopped buying cars because it's unaffordable.
Yes, there's a small subset of people that feel as if they can afford cars, both new and used, and that small group is still in the market. But because it's such a small group, the market's not growing. New car sales are down from 2025 through the first half of 2026, 2 to 3%. The expectation is, based on the type of inventory levels we're seeing, that those numbers will continue to move downward. Used car sales are somewhat stagnant. So if the situation is that the vast majority of people don't feel as if they can afford to buy a new car or a used car, then that market gets even smaller and smaller. At a certain point, to address that affordability crisis, prices are going to have to come down. Manufacturers are going to have to decide to build less expensive, lower content vehicles again. There's going to be a movement both from dealers and automakers to figure out the affordability crisis.
Now, before they get those cheaper vehicles in manufacturing production, they're doing one thing first, which is extending loan terms. This does not make purchasing a vehicle more affordable. It just means that you're carrying more debt. It's a bit of a debt trap. And Dad, the stats here when it comes to that debt trap are astounding. In Q1 of 2026, Experian says the average new car monthly payment is $770. We now know that more than 20% of all new car payments are over $1,000 a month. We've got 23% of all borrowers taking on loans of 84 months or longer. And the amount of trade-ins that are actually underwater when you go to the dealership and you sell your car to the dealer and you get that new auto loan, 31% of all those trade-ins are underwater to the tune of over $7,000. So that just adds even more money that's being financed on the purchase of that new vehicle. So that's been, before the automakers have come out with cheaper options, that's been the lever that the industry has pulled to get more of these vehicles sold, is just, well, I don't know, extend the loan term, make the monthly payment more attainable for people. But that is a bad deal for so many reasons. It's a bad deal for the consumer who gets in a debt trap. And it's also a bad deal for the industry who kicks the can down the road for 3 years and then ultimately has more negative equity that they have to deal with. It takes the customer out of the market 3 years later. Slippery, slippery, slippery slope.
And the other bad deal, the cost of automobile insurance has gone up. The cost of maintenance for your vehicle has gone up. The cost of fueling your vehicle has gone up. So you tell me what's the upside here? And there doesn't really appear to be any, other than at a certain point in time, prices are going to have to come down. If more and more people take themselves out of the market and there's fewer and fewer buyers, dealerships and automakers are going to have to incentivize the sale of the automobiles that they do have. And hopefully we will see some price reductions of a significant enough level to bring people back into the market.
This is endemic and this has been systemic. This chart shows you new car auto sales from 1977 to 2025. Sales for autos have been stagnant in the United States of America. And when you start to adjust this for population growth, it's even more damning. Now, there is nuance in what's happening in the car market right now. For example, if you're a Toyota dealer, you're happy. If you're Toyota nationally, you're happy. And that's because they have too many people, too much demand, even as their prices have crept up. So there is some nuance in the car market, but the vast majority of automakers, the vast majority of auto dealers, they're feeling the pain right now because customers can't afford their products, sales are stagnant or down, and ultimately they're facing a moment of reckoning. How are we going to get these prices to become more affordable?
Yep. That's the future. Dealers and manufacturers are going to have to make that choice to figure out a way to bring more people back into the market. And well, the best way to do that is lower the price.
If you want to get a good deal when you buy your next car, if you do buy your next car, go to CarEdge.com. Let my dad and I and our incredible team help you out. Thanks so much, Pops.
Thank you.